Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Superstars of Wrestling review series for the 22nd of July, 1989. I remember being very much into the program at this point, having really upped my fandom in the last several months before this, and it's just cool to see something, 31 years later. I can't believe it's been that long. Anyway, we move through the programming, and we are probably about a month and a half, maybe a little less, away from SummerSlam, the second SummerSlam. Just thinking about that now is a big deal. King Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, has beat Randy Savage for the crown within the last month to 6 weeks, and Duggan wearing the cape that was no, he beat Haku for the crown, and Savage beats him. Macho King is where we go from here, but Duggan manages to stomp around, get after the enhancement talent, and pretty well be kind of an aggressive guy here, going after the enhancement talent, punches, kicks, chops, and a swinging body slam or two. Duggan still looked great when I worked with him about 13, 14 years ago. Big diving knee attack, a knee drop, and the All-American clothesline by Duggan. And he could still do those things 13 years ago. Jim Duggan, hope he's doing well. I know that the pandemic has been hard on a lot of older folks, and Duggan getting up there in age. SummerSlam report is here. Feel the heat. The 29th, I believe, of the year, and Hogan and Beefcake against Zeus and Savage, a rematch for the Intercontinental title with the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. Of course, Rude beating the Warrior at WrestleMania 5, so kind of following up on that angle and splitting off into a Piper and Rude feud eventually. But Demolition and King Duggan, newly minted King Duggan, against the Twin Towers of Akeem and the Big Boss Man and Andre the Giant. Talk about a big team there. Dusty Rhodes and the Honky Tonk Man, one of Honky's least favorite matches of all time if you listen to his shoot interviews. Jimmy Snuka gets a payday against the Million Dollar Man. That's more for the Million Dollar Man than Snuka, because I think even by this point they've given up on Snuka. The Hart Foundation and the Brainbusters, one of the better tag matches for the time in the WWF, and so much more. At this point, I don't think the tag team championships have shifted hands, although it might actually be on this particular occasion or right about it. But that is a non-title match for the tag team affair, as it happens. The Big Boss Man out next in an enhancement match. And of course, the Boss Man still with the Slickster. Would be for another year plus, probably 18 months or so. Right before WrestleMania 6, I think, is that switch. Anyway, so not a full year, actually. Punches, kicks, and the Boss Man sends the man off for the Boss Man slam after a spine buster on top of that. Boss Man looks like $1,000,000, pins with one hand, and Dusty Rhodes comes in tie-dye and some polka dots along the way. Dusty Rhodes is unhappy with the fact that the Boss Man is using his handcuffs and nightsticks as a weapon. He turns the nightstick and such on the Boss Man, tries to go after the Slickster, but Slickster gets out of there in a hurry, and Dusty Rhodes walks away with the nightstick and handcuffs of the Big Boss Man. Boss Man not happy about that. Interestingly, it was Dusty Rhodes that discovered what then became Big Bubba Rogers in the NWA a couple years before, doing enhancement work. So kind of an interesting go-round that they end up doing a feud here, and they had done it in the NWA. Warrior does an inset promo talking about upcoming house show matches, and it makes about as much sense as a Warrior promo generally does. We then move to Bobby Heenan representing the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. My favorite tag team at the time. I loved the Rockers and Brainbusters feud. Still to this day, I think my favorite tag match is their either one of their Saturday night main event matches. Anyway, Anderson obviously bit more power. He does the drop toe hold. Amazing to me that they only teamed together for about 3 years' time, 87 through 89 ish. Uh, Maybe 86 through 89. So that's the 3 years there, but 3.5 maybe at most. When you think about them and you think about how much the Brain Busters slash Anderson and Blanchard in the NWA influence tag team wrestling, it's pretty amazing. They go to the outside, they do the wonder that is the clothesline. I mean, Blanchard comes in. He, of course, he's a second generation guy, which I think adds a little bit to his aggression. Drops several elbows, goes after his opponent very aggressively in general, and eventually we see a hanging suplex into a gourd buster type maneuver, and the spike pile driver, my favorite finishing move for a tag team of all time, the spike pile driver, and it was the Brainbusters that made the move famous, at least for my neck of the woods. Then we go to, again, a Terry Taylor match, which at the time is a pretty big deal. This time, we covered one of his from '88, not too terribly long ago, maybe even right there with this. But he chicken wings the arm after a few body slams, but this time his hair is dyed. He is a babyface and does use the chicken wing submission hold to gain a victory in that environment. Now, we go to an interview on the Brother Love show, I believe, with, actually, no, backstage, with Zeus and Randy Savage. Zeus, of course, coming off the No Holds Barred movie, the main villain in the movie, Tiny Lister, manages to get into wrestling for a short span of time, only having a few matches, but manages to, punch, kick, choke, and that's about all he does. Savage, though, promising to get rid of he and Hogan and Beefcake at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam '89. Rick Martel is here. Rick Martel has turned on Tito Santana right at WrestleMania 5. Terry Daniels, who is one of the first guys who'd ever had national exposure that I ever met when I was doing independence and doing commentary. Real humble guy, cool guy. Didn't think much of me because I was a 15-year-old punk kid. What did I know? But anyway, he was a cool guy when I met him and accessible and all of that. Martel with jumping jacks, cartwheels, and really basic stuff, ending with the Boston Crab. At one point, there was talk of a Santana Martel blow off at SummerSlam '89. That never happened. Slickster with Martel only for a couple of months to cement the heel turn. Back then, having a manager made you more believable as a heel, I guess you would say. There we go with the Brother Love show. That comes right here, and I knew there was one this week, just misplaced where it was in my notes. Anyway, Dusty Rhodes out there promising that he had gotten even with the big boss man. The boss man needed to learn real justice, real law and order, and if he wanted his nightstick and handcuffs back, he needed to come get them. Dusty dancing like a completely excited, rather rotund fellow in the interim here. Then we move to another enhancement talent match, and that's a pretty big deal. Of course, the Brother Love show, such an important show at the time. All the major interviews happened there. We see Tony Durante, Anthony Durante, otherwise known as one of the Pitbulls. I believe he was Pitbull number 2, if I remember correctly, later in the ECW days, against Rick Rude. So that's an interesting deal there. Rick Rude, of course, powering him down, doing the butt wiggle, swiggle, and Rude is your Intercontinental Champion at this. No, is your Intercontinental Champion for another couple weeks here. Heenan does an inset promo where he promises that he and the Heenan family and Rick Rude is going to hold on to, for the family, the benefit of the Intercontinental Championship. Durante giving a little bit of offense here. I think maybe they saw something in him or just trying to be nice or whatever. They do the power out spot, but Rude does come back with the Rude Awakening and then kisses a lovely lady mid-ring post-match. Andre the Giant there to support his Heenan family member. They hyped they being Hogan and Beefcake, hyped the cutting of the hair maybe of Randy Savage, or even as Brutus Beefcake calls her, Scary Sherry. Of course, Sensational Sherry, who will be in the corner of Zeus and Savage at SummerSlam. And then we go to a interesting run with the Demolition against a couple enhancement guys. Irish Whip uh, on Mike Sharp of all people, who's been around for a while in this general area, and Smash goes at living up to his name, smashing with punches and axe handles. Axe comes in, Snapmare, and does some chin locks and basic stuff of his own. What's amazing to me is punching and kicking not a big deal as far as baby faces are concerned here in '89, and people still went out to the house shows to see it. So Ted DiBiase promoing the match that he's going to have with the Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Snuka says that he will not tolerate money being placed in his mouth, as DiBiase was one to do, and that will close us out for this particular edition. We will be back with more right after this.